Добре дојдовте уште една епизода на подкастот Чекор напред со М6, сезона 2, подкаст во кој се обидуваме преку разговори со успешни и интересни луѓе од бизнисот, да отвориме некои прашања и да добиеме сознанија, некои што ќе ни помогнат да направиме чекор напред во нашите лични животи, кариери и генерално да направиме чекор напред во општеството во кое живееме. Вечер имаме еден многу интересен и успешен гостин со успешна професионална кариера, интересна биографија, од кој разговор верувам дека ќе извлечете многу корисни поуки и ќе осознаете многу работи како треба да постапуваме во нашите професионални кариери, како да го направиме балансот меѓу нашиот приватен живот и професионалниот живот и како да успееме да направиме барем некоја мала позитивна промена во општествата во кои живееме. Вечерва со нас е господинот Bruno Filipi, човек кој има навистина респективилна меѓународна кариера и кој навистина мислам дека со нас ќе сподели многу интересни погледи и аспекти на она што се вика професионална кариера. Welcome, Mr. Bruno Filipi. We are very pleased and honored to have you here tonight with us in our podcast, Step Forward at M6. Today we are going to speak about very interesting topic, contemporary topic, which is leadership, something that maybe will distinguish us as a humans in future from artificial intelligence and the way we are going on in implementing AI in our lives. So proper leadership will be one thing that will still distinguish people from computers in future. So welcome again, and for the beginning, I would like to ask you, what is your opinion? Are the leaders born, or they can be created by training and education?
Thank you very much for inviting me here. It's the first time I've been here in M6 Educational Center, and my impressions are great. This is a great place, and I certainly respect the vision and the initiative about leadership education. You started with one very difficult question, and I'll try to answer it with two stories. Actually, one story about two people. And one person was from his childhood. That person was always inclined to leadership. And whenever, as a children, they played, that person would always jump and say, I will be the boss. Or actually, in this concrete situation, he would jump and say, I will be Tito. Ja ću biti Tito. That was his always expression to position himself as the boss. Later on, that person in career also didn't hesitate to take the risky jobs, big jobs, take large risks, and had no problem in accepting positions which implied leading people. Okay. At the very same time, there is another person, and that person was the opposite. That person was introvert, analytical, didn't like public speaking, didn't like going in public too much. He preferred small groups and working on projects within the small confined areas. The first person found a lot of talent in the second person and promoted that person when he was very young. So that person was promoted from a chief accountant into CFO when he was 28 years old. Later on, GM, and on and on and on. So the first person is me. That's the one who wants to be Tito. All right. The second person is Zoran Bogdanovic. And as you said before, it's true, uh, although it sounds a little bit better than it actually is. I did work in 23 countries across 3 continents, and I led 7, 10, 15 billion dollar companies. And Zoran is now Chief Executive Officer of Coca-Cola Hellenic Bottling Company, which with the recent acquisition is the second largest bottler in the world. Why did I say these 2 stories? Because some people are more inclined to be leaders and some are less inclined. And deliberately, I'm not using the word talent. I'm not saying talented, not talented. I'm saying different people. But this story, which is still going on, is a proof that leaders are not born. You can be more or less inclined, but certainly leaders can be trained. And if I can add to that, that there is absolutely no research, and in my retirement now, I also take part in the academic, circles. There is no research which would prove that leaders are born and not created. To make the very long story short, if you have just a little bit inclination, you can be trained into a great leader.
But if you have inclination, and probably it's now becomes very clear to the public that I haven't mentioned in the beginning that actually most of your career you spent in Coca-Cola, one of the biggest beverage companies in the world, on a very high positions. You mentioned Zoran Bogdanovic, which is currently CEO of Hellenic Bottling Company, the biggest bottler of Coca-Cola. And you have a lot of experience with top executives, top management, and managing people below you. That's why leadership is your main topic. Do you see any change in the habits, in the behavior of the leaders, or the requirements for the leader of today in 21st century and the leaders of the past century, 20th century, or maybe the leaders in the history? Because in the human civilization history, there were always in some period the leaders. Since the tribes were formed, there was always someone that leads the tribe as a leader. So the leader that are leading ahead, or the leaders that are staying behind and push others to go in front. Is there any change?
A lot. You have a point. Absolutely, you're right. The leaders of today need to be very different to the leaders of yesterday, including myself. Yeah. So in 20th century, we lived in sure world, S-U-R-E. And sure means stability, it's explainable, the world is explainable, the world is reliable and predictable. Okay, so all of that was characteristics of the context and the environment of the last century. As a consequence of that, industries were slow. There are not big changes, and certainly not frequent changes. And the leaders were trained to work and operate in the hierarchical organizations, protect status quo, and they didn't care a lot about employee well-being, all right? And also, the industries had a defined boundaries. Okay, so if you were a beverage company, you didn't compete in Ivar. Okay, you competed in beverages. Today you see breweries who do everything from, I don't know, from tap beer to tap water. Everything. You know? So the boundaries are blurred. Blurred, exactly. You know? And today we live in this VUCA world. You know? And help me with this acronym. VUCA means volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So these are two completely different worlds and two completely different contexts. Exactly. So leaders now need to deal with a very fast change, unpredictability. Also, they need to deal with the new generations, millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, and all of that, which didn't happen before. So if I would describe how leaders feel today, and we need to talk about the feelings also, you know, I think the leaders today, even in Macedonia and in Croatia and in USA, it's everywhere is the same. Talking about the Western world as we know it, I think they feel like they play chess on the wooden board, but the wooden board is burning. It's all in flames, and somebody else is moving the pieces.
Faster than you.
Yeah, so somebody else is moving the pieces, and you have no idea where the piece, your piece or figure, will be in the next minute. And I think it's not easy.
Yes, and the context actually demands the leader for that context. If 10,000 years ago, to be leader of a tribe, you need to be physically strongest. Now, probably it's completely different to be leader in this 21st century. And you were leading multinational companies on different continents, Asia, Europe. So what you have learned from this experience working for international companies about leadership, was it helpful for you? And are there differences between, let's say, international companies leadership like in Coca-Cola and Balkan companies and Europe companies even, because Coca-Cola has, I think, different American approach in leading companies than European companies? Or there is no difference?
It's true, Filipi, you're right. I did work in 23 countries across 3 continents. And it's true also that in different countries and different continents, you have different cultures, you have different habits, you have different business challenges, and things are sometimes surprisingly different. However, I believe, and this is what, you know, if you ask me what did I learn in 35 years of being GM, general manager and CEO, I think the leader's job is always the same. And it is about 3 things. First, leader's job is to create or co-create and develop the smart and sound strategy. Okay. So strategy is the starting point. Then it is the leader's job to work on the simplification of that strategy so that everybody can really understand, from the CEO down to
Bottom line
people who work on the production line. And then the third thing is to find, select, develop, steal right people. And when you have these three ingredients, the right strategy, simple strategy, and the right people, then you just let them go. And the business goes on its own.
And that's the biggest challenge actually for the leaders, how to create a corporate culture, a culture in general, even in society, in which people will feel free to openly communicate about the problems, to express their ideas how to solve the problem without feeling that if they are wrong, that they will be damned by the society or by the company culture and pointed out as someone that is just saying stupid things. Because from these ideas, starting from bottom line people, actually you sometimes get very interesting ideas for business. So how to create such a culture of open communication, top down and down top? Is it challenge?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge challenge, and you are absolutely right. In the last century, from which I come from, actually, this is most of my career was,
Me too.
or at least half was in the last century. When boss was talking, everybody was nodding. Yeah? Today, if you ask a question and you have a discussion, and people are just nodding, and you have no questions, no challenges, that can mean only two things. One thing is that really they don't care. They don't care. Or second, they already have a new job. So, it is the ultimate task of a leader to create a culture as you described, in which culture people are free to talk. And let's just step back a little bit and say, what is a culture? Peter Drucker, the father of management, said, culture is what happens when management is not around.
It's true.
So what people do when nobody is around, okay? So it is not easy, and it comprises of many things. First of all, it's a communication style and the style of a leader, top guy,
Yeah,
because everything starts with the top guy,
I agree fully.
or girl, or woman,
Person, let's say.
person. Thank you. And the leadership team, okay, that starts from them, and their behavior is replicated by others, and then it's cascaded down throughout the organization.
Like role model, actually. They are copying their leaders.
Absolutely. It's, you can call it, walking the talk. Thank you. Walking the talk, exactly. The second thing is that creates the culture from the very beginning. Second thing is a rewarding system. Do you reward? And when I say reward, I mean money,
And recognition.
promotion for people who dare to challenge, who dare to propose, who dare to take the company to the new levels. Yeah? So the reward system needs to be about that. Yeah? And then also, again, back to, you gave me a difficult topic today, but it's the mother of all topics, the leadership.
Yeah, it is.
The leader's responsibility is actually to drive that culture. That's his ultimate responsibility.
Yes, we are, I think, fully agreed on that. And actually, we point out what are obstacles if you don't have such a corporate culture. Probably you don't have the right team. You don't have. You don't walk the talk. You promote something, but you are not used to that, and you cannot create channels of communication formal or informal, because corporate culture is something informal. It's not written. It's a way how people behave in the company, that you allow information from the bottom to go up and from the top to go down. And that is really magic. Bigger the company, bigger the magic you have to create
Absolutely.
to have such a
Absolutely.
fluent flow of information, knowledge,
Yeah.
and respect from both
Yeah.
both sides.
And let me tell you, Filipi, one more thing. If you don't create such a culture where people feel free to discuss and point to problems, then you as a leader will learn about these issues and problems in your own company like everybody else. And that is on social media.
In more difficult way.
Well, you will
And
learn
no
it.
nasty way.
You will learn it on social media, and I'm not sure you as a leader want that.
And according to you, in this dynamic world of continuous change and uncertainty, what would you suggest to the companies as the best strategy that they can, flexible strategy, let's say, to adopt to the so frequent and so fast changes, especially last 5 years, let's say? You should adopt, maybe you adopt one strategy and budget it and whatever in the beginning of the year, and then you have to adopt fastly. Like Darwin says, survival is to those that are most adaptive, not to the strongest and smartest. So how to properly, this is the strategy for the companies, to act fast. They say, think big, act small, and be fast. And be fast is probably nowadays more and more important than every time in past.
Yeah, let me again compare the last century and the previous period with today. When I started working in the Coca-Cola company, and I had the privilege and the luck to work for them when I was very young, 28, 29, we had two planning periods. One was strategic business planning, which was taking place in April, May. And all of us were working on that like crazy, day, night. We were not selling Coca-Cola. We were just planning and planning and planning. This scenario, that scenario, for 5 years. 5 years. Okay. Then in September, we would make an annual business plan just for the next year. And then a year later, the same process. Today, I don't know the company, with the exception maybe of oil refineries and capital-intensive businesses which plan long-term infrastructure like
Steel industry,
oil fields, steel mills,
energy.
thank you, exactly, energy, you know. I don't know a company who plans longer than 1 year.
And what is also different probably, now you have to make, as a manager, as a leader in the company, you have to make decisions, quality sound decisions without enough quality information. So you should, going to suggest to managers, to leaders in the companies, how to make decisions, quality decisions, when they don't have really accurate, I would say, information or predictable development of the markets?
Look, I'll tell you what I was saying to my teams, and I had this luck and privilege to lead very large and very intelligent people. I would always tell them, look, give me 80% now. It's better to have 80% now of information, knowledge, blah, blah, whatever, scenarios, than 100% never.
Or in 1 year?
Well, 1 year is never. Yeah, it's almost like never in today's speed and pace. But you asked me about the strategy, and I'll go back again to big academics in that theory and practitioners, actually. One of them said, very famous person, he said, we see a strategy like a line which shows direction. And we point to that direction. and then we improvise around it.
Around the line.
We improvise around the line, depending on what happens. As we said before, the chess which is burning and somebody else is moving the pieces. So that's the strategy of today. But again, I still believe in simplicity, and if strategy is not simple enough, I can tell you it's not going to happen.
According to your experience, what are, let's say, the routines and habits that leaders should have in order to still be successful in this so quickly changing environment and dynamics, as you mentioned, that you follow the line, more or less you answer, you follow the line, but you try to go around the line in order, again, at the end, to reach the direction in which you point to go. So which habits actually help you to stay sharp-minded, let's say, not only business habits, personal habits, that you should start in the morning at 7, do exercise, go at work at 8.
Yeah.
Such a routines. Ask
Yeah.
meetings every Monday or every Saturday. What habits they should keep or create such a habits to make them successful in managing their companies.
I'm sure every leader would find his own rhythm and his own routines that best suit him or her. I can tell you what routines did I have. And they came out after 10, 15 years of I was a very young general manager, I'll tell you what I did exactly. So we had this strategy business planning period of couple of weeks, which set this line, as we discussed, set the line where we want to go and how. Okay. Then I would have on Tuesdays at 2 o'clock staff meeting. So all my direct reports would come into one room. And then everybody would go one by one and talk about the things that he or she was doing. But in front of everybody. So if a marketing, and that happens even today, marketing is launching a new product, and then the supply chain managers jumps up and says, well, this is the first time I hear about it.
Even production,
Yeah.
don't know.
Oh, production, forget production. He said, well, let me tell you, for this piece of product, I have a 6 months lead time. Opa. You see? So that was basically a weekly coordination meeting. And when I started it, it lasted 6 hours, 8 hours. And I didn't let them out until everybody said what they had to say. Over a couple of months, that would be reduced to 2 hours. So Tuesday, and why Tuesday, you might ask?
I was wondering.
Yeah.
Please.
Because after a weekend, everybody jumps on the work. And they need to do work. And I think work is more important than the meeting. So I would let them the whole Monday
Departments.
free, you go and work. Then the whole morning of Tuesday, you go and work, please. And then come to Papa and talk on Tuesday, 2 o'clock, after lunch. So everybody is relaxed. Okay. So that was a weekly routine. Sometimes didn't even happen. If there was no need, it didn't happen.
After a while.
After a while, of course, after a while. And then once a month, we would have that very same meeting a little bit expanded. And that would be a review of the previous month and the previous period, and then setting rolling estimates and forecasts and et cetera, et cetera. So that 3 simple routines. But, sorry, let me add one thing, which is extremely important. And that is, do you know what is a market visit?
Yes. Going outside of office.
Exactly, going outside of the office and meeting real people, real customers,
Real feedback.
real consumers, yeah, which CEOs in ivory towers never see. And I was religious about it, religious. So let me give you example of China. Okay, I had 24 general managers reporting to me. So I would visit once a week or 2 provinces per week.
And one
'Cause I have
province is like
50
Europe.
Yeah, you have 52 weeks and 24 businesses which are larger than Germany. So I would go out and talk to the people. And then during these visits, you have opportunity to convey the strategy, the objectives, the values of the company directly, face to face. Yeah. And so this is, in my view, this is extremely important.
When we're speaking about habits, what is the one, let's say, habit that you wish to have early in your career and you learn it later on? So,
Oh, but I know immediately. I know immediately. And I was very, very bad in that. That is managing your boss.
your boss
Yeah.
above you.
Managing the boss, managing upwards. And I was very young and very smart manager, I thought that I know everything. I knew everything. And I, to be honest, I never paid attention to what are boss's objectives. What are
Right.
his problems? What is boss of my boss wants? I didn't care about that.
Not big picture.
No. I was
Yeah, you're
focused
right.
on my people, and I was extremely good in managing my teams. And if there is any legacy in my 30 plus years in leadership and management, is the people that I left behind. Now we could have another whole podcast about my people who worked with me, how big leaders and
They become.
managers are they today. Okay, but what I was very bad at was managing my boss. That discipline is not something that you can learn in the school. Well, actually you can, because I teach it today based on my bad experience and my own bad practices. I have written the whole course on how you manage your boss. And I call it managing up without sucking up. Okay? And it helps. Had I known that 20 years ago, I would maybe be a CEO of the Coca-Cola company, but I'm not.
Who knows?
Well, my time is gone.
It seems that in today, let's say, today context, money available more than ever. Your funds, so looking for good ideas, looking to fund for funding of new startups and companies. So how to, and it seems that it's not really directed in the right companies. There is a disbalance between available money, especially, let's say in Macedonia, we have a lot of funds available. We are not using them because there are no ideas. There are no companies that can implement something that this funding is for. So how we can match this properly, because we don't have leaders who recognize the potential of this funding and have ideas, not even personal, to find on someone with ideas and convert it in a business project, let's say. Do you see this discrepancy between the capital and the leadership that can use this capital?
Absolutely. I think you have already given the answer. There is a disbalance between available funds and the leadership teams and managers who can put it into a reasonably good projects with a reasonable return on investment. But let me just tell you how big this problem is. You know, do you know what is dry powder?
No.
Okay, so there is a term, I learned it recently, also I didn't know about it. In 18th century, people were shooting with these guns in which you need to put gunpowder. Barut.
Gunpowder.
Gunpowder.
Barut.
Yeah, barut, tako je. So you put gunpowder, barut, inside your gun, then you put a bullet inside, you push it inside, and then you kill somebody, or try to kill somebody. Okay. But the powder needs to be dry. If it's wet, it doesn't work.
You lose.
So, exactly. So, who had more dry powder, he was winning the battle. Because he can shoot again and again,
Longer
and again and again and again. Okay, so that term comes from 18th century, from these battles, and now it's called in finance. So dry powder is immediately available cash for investments. And there is an estimate there is between 15 and 20 trillion dollars of dry powder in the world. I need to say that for your viewers, how big is a trillion? Okay, so this is 1,000 billions of millions. So this is an absolutely unbelievable amount. You know? So the estimates go between 50 and 20 trillion dry powder available at any moment. I'm not talking about pension funds or stock markets or bond markets.
Investors.
No.
Just
I'm talking
investors.
about pure cash, which is waiting for me,
For guns.
for you and me, for me and you, to figure out something very intelligent and smart, and hopefully you and I are good enough to manage it. If you and I figure out something like that, we'll find $1 million tomorrow, like this.
So that's this balance actually. There is a money, but there is no ideas and courage, maybe entrepreneur spirit to go around.
There is also another thing, if you want to stay a little bit on the subject, there are also obstacles, the context and the environmental obstacles, you know? Regulatory problems, bureaucratic problems. I think we all know what I'm talking about, you know. And Europe is an absolute champion in that. You know, we have this heritage here from the previous times. Let's not talk about that, you know. But previous times we had this huge bureaucracy and obstacles. But now Europe is championing obstacles. I mean, we can talk the whole night about that.
Champion in over-regulation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Not in innovation,
Absolutely.
not in over-regulation.
This is becoming a nanny state. You know, like you cannot go to, you know, to park the car or go to the toilet until somebody
Allow you.
prescribes
How to go.
how you go.
And Mr. Filipi, na kraju našeg razgovora da potvrdimo da je globalni kontekst takav kakav što je, da mi pričamo na engleski, a mogli bi da pričamo na hrvatski, na makedonski. Ja ću vam postaviti zadnje pitanje na makedonskom, a vi odgovorite na hrvatskom.
Može.
Вие сте професор исто и на престижна школа за бизнес во Загреб и се среќавате и со студенти кои студираат и можете да ги споредите студентите што се сега со времето кога ние сме биле студенти, јас, вие, па и не толку далеко, можеби пред 20 на 30 години. Дали гледате разлика меѓу студентите денес, што утре ќе бидат лидери, оние што биле во наше време, и што би им препорачале на тие млади луѓе сега, доколку сакаат да се развијат, имаат инклинација кон лидери, сакаат да станат лидери?
Da, Pa razlog zašto sam nakon tih 35 godina što sam bio generalni direktor, CEO i tako dalje, ali to sve te velike riječi koje koristimo. Ja sam osjećao malo potrebe da vratim to što sam ja naučio u 23 zemlje na 3 kontinenta, da malo to vratim mladim ljudima. Jel? I odabrao sam Zagrebačku školu ekonomije i menadžmenta jer je to sigurno najbolja škola u centralnoj Europi. Jel? Po svim akreditacijama i tako dalje. Jel? Moji studenti nisu djeca, nego su članovi uprava. Znači ja predajem na Executive MBA i Global MBA studijima. Jel? To su middle managers, top managers. Sam ja sad prešao nazad na engleski.
Ne, to je dobro, to su univerzalni termini.
Da. I znači to su članovi uprava, predsjednici uprava koji su osjetili da bi htjeli nešto malo naučiti više. Okay. Imam jako puno inženjera. Znači, u svakoj grupi godišnje koja ima oko 15 do 20 ljudi, manje više iz cijelog svijeta, čovjek bi se iznenadio, ja? Da dolaze u Zagreb na školu. Ja? Oni su stvarno sami odlučili da na to dođu i posebno cijenim one koji to sami plaćaju. Znači ima ih otprilike 1/3 do polovine kako koje godine. Neke pošalje tvrtka, tako sam ja kad sam bio u Coca-Coli, ja sam stalno tražio veću plaću. Onda su rekli ne možeš više dobiti veću plaću, sad imaš već najveću plaću. A? Rekao, ok, idem na školu. Može. Gdje hoćeš ići? Na Harvard. Ok, pa su im poslali i platili mi $100,000 Harvard Business School. Tako da ima jedna grupa kojima to tvrtke plaćaju, ali posebno cijenim one koje sami iz svoje ušteđevine i džepa plaćaju, ja im se posebno posvećujem.
Ulažu u sebi, svjesni su da će im se to vratiti ranije ili kasnije.
Upravo tako.
Znači vi predlažete u stvari da kontinuirana edukacija je ključ uspjeha.
Pa ja mislim da smo, Filipe, na početku našeg razgovora možda malo raspetljali to da li se lider rađa ili se lider trenira. Ja vjerujem da sa mrvicom talenta svako može biti super lider. Siguran sam u to. I svakako ako neko ima prilike učiti, da li mu netko drugi plaća ili on sam plaća, ali može učiti i besplatno na internetu i tako dalje.
Tako je, danas je
Nema nikoga ko vam to kasnije može oduzeti. Jer vi to znate. Vi ste to naučili i ako još možete to negdje isprobati, onda vam puno raste confidence, jel?
I kredibilitet kad pričate kasnije o tome.
Tako da za mlade ili manje mlade menadžere u Makedoniji, ja sam siguran da to ima jako puno talenta, a i puno ih i poznajem, jer ja dolazim u Makedoniju od 91. godine. Ja? I uvijek sam našao krasne talente i divne ljude i uspješne ljude i u Makedoniji i izvan Makedonije. Ja imam savjet da ne prestaju učiti, jel? I na kraju krajeva nek dođu na M6 edukaciju.
Така, тоа сакав да кажам во тој контекст дека всушност и M6 едукативниот центар постои за тоа, за да направи можност за тие луѓе да можат да се надградуваат, да слушнат работи од луѓе како што сте вас, од вашето искуство, од вашето академско знаење. Таа компилација меѓу академско знаење и искуство е навистина непроценлива, која ќе ја добиете така. И некогаш на младите ми изгледа тоа нереално или можеби премногу апстрактно, но во суштина тоа се случува. И вие сте навистина добар пример како, да речеме, од Загреб успевате да водите 23 земји, ни светов, да дојдете во врвовите на доста сложена организација како што е Coca-Cola, америчка корпорација, која пак ќе кажам, америчките компании многу се различни од европските во корпоративната култура посебно. И да, еве денеска бидете тука повторно, како што рековте, сакате да вратите дел од тоа искуство и знаење и во Хрватска, но еве да вратите и во Македонија. Верувам дека во следниот период, следната година, ќе бидете еден од предавачите во нашиот M6 едукативен центар. So for the end, I will conclude again maybe in English.
Sure.
To see how dynamic today world is and changing. So thank you, dear Bruno, for being us tonight, today with us, and to share with us your views, your experience, your lessons learned from your really extraordinary career in the companies around the world and even in the region. So thank you for being with us. I hope to see you again next year as a lecturer in M6 Education Center, where you can transfer this knowledge and experience to the young leaders, because at the end, Europe is in the problem because we don't have leaders, political first, even economical leaders. So leadership actually, although sounds very maybe like something not real, or how to say it, I don't have the right word. Maybe in Croatian or Macedonian we should find this word abstractno. Abstract.
Okay. Yeah.
Term.
Abstract.
But in reality, if this abstract term is missing, we don't have progress.
Pa to je softver, jel? Hardvera ima dovoljno.
Tako je, pa to je isto sa novcem, isto.
Novaca ima dovoljno, hardvera ima dovoljno. Malo nam fali softvera, jel?
Malo nam fali softvera, tako je.
Да.
Hvala vam još jednom.
Hvala i vama.
Драги гледачи, ова беше разговорот со господинот Бруно Филипи, една прекрасна, изворена личност, не само професионално, туку и како персона, со која вечерва поминавме, не знам, 30 на можеби минути во еден интересен разговор, каде што ни сподели негови лични искуства, погледи на она што било, што е и што не очекува во иднина, и како да го правиме тој баланс личен и како да ги менаџираме компаниите кои ги раководиме доколку сме нели на раководни позиции. Продолжете да го гледате нашиот подкаст Чекор напред со М6. Ќе имаме понатаму интересни гости, гости од кои ќе можеме да научиме и да направиме чекор напред во нашите животи. Ви благодарам.